distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure us that we will live here better after this session. I will be informed. But the only thing I cannot guarantee is that your weight will not increase. But I can assure you your knowledge will blossom. And you'll be able to talk more about the shifting landscape. There's no better area to talk about shifting landscape other than Lekki axis of Lagos State. And that we have established before our father, the royal father, left us the Oniru of the land. If you are conversant with the old marathon, you will know that a lot of landscape has shifted in this place. Serious developmental activities are taking place. And so, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to hand over to Builder Dr. Faremi, who will now lead us into the real shifting landscape. Builder Faremi, why is landscape shifting? Over to you.
Thank you very much. The moderator of all moderators. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it's already afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again. And I want to warmly welcome our discussants to this session. And I want to say that we've heard that we cannot have this thing at a better time than this, because the landscape is actually shifting, and it's not peculiar to the construction industry alone. It's a global phenomenon. So the shift is everywhere, and we are glad to have this carefully selected crop of experts to discuss the shifting landscape from different perspectives, from the construction perspective through to the insurance, security, financing, and the allied issues that borders the totality of the environment this afternoon. So my discussants here are once again welcome. So I'm going to start in, I don't know if, I'm not going to follow this particular order. I'm just going to pick from this team of discussants at random. So I'm going to start with the carbon chairman, because
thank you very much. Sorry, I need to please let me welcome the GM Lagos State Material Testing Lab to this podium. That's Engineer Funshon Lulaki. Please join us at the podium. Thank you very much. Yes.
So I'm going to start with the carbon chairman, because his charge, I learned he's been having series of activities back to back since 2 days now. So I'm going to ask or request that he speaks to the team in just 10 minutes, sir. Tell us, we want you to speak to the team, then we can take the conversation from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, moderator. I've heard the name Dr. Faremi, and I think I've even spoken on phone, and I see your face.
What?
But today I'm matching the face and the voice and the name now. It's a pleasure to have you as our moderator. My very highly esteemed discussants, I welcome you. Our KBC and very eminent senior builders, past presidents, senior officials of government, and ladies, press, the ladies and gentlemen. In 10 minutes, I'm just going to lay the foundation of what we are expecting to take place in these 2 days, and particularly at this forum. And I am going to speak on the person who is expected to respond to the shifting landscape. You know, many a times we are talking about what to do without looking at who does it and whether he is adequately equipped with the necessary accompaniment of the human person that will enable him carry out that function. And so for a professional to be able to respond to the shifting system in our industry, we need to talk about who he is as a professional and what are the ethics that guide him in the conduct of his professional responsibility and engagements. I will limit myself to that. By the time we have finished with what is expected of a professional and a builder in the real estate sector, then my colleagues will be able to lay more on this foundation as to how that professional should respond to the shifting landscape. So I will be talking about the roles of professionals in the real estate. While I was giving my goodwill message, I did say that even if you are qualified and trained in an aspect of any human area of endeavor, but you are not licensed to practice it, and you go to practice it, you are a quack. And so it is important for us to know the roles of the various professionals in real estate. And I must say here also that because we are involved in shifting landscape, the professionals even in the real estate sector of our economy are increasing in number. Many professions are fusing, others are splitting up. We shall look at them. We will look at the code of ethics and professional conduct, particularly for builders. And why? So, because I regulate builders. So I'm very conversant with our expectations of them. And I want to add that in no distant future, we are expecting to get the common tribunal inaugurated, which means anybody who runs contrary to these ethics will be brought before the tribunal and appropriate sanctions met, because the public must be protected from the practice, just as builders also are protected from the public. Then we'll talk about the Builders Code of Ethics. So having said that, I want to say that I expect that at the end of this conference, we would have taken care of enhancement of ethical conduct and professionalism. And that will move us from here. I believe that in a conference of this type, there must be a takeaway. Nobody should come here without taking something back with him to improve his practice in his place of location. Who is a professional? A professional is a member of a profession. Professionals are governed by code of ethics and profess commitment to competence, integrity, morality, altruism, and the promotion of public good within the areas of their expertise. Professionals are accountable to those who serve the society and are governing the society. In which case, for instance, for me to sit down here this morning and say I'm chairman of Common, there must be a law establishing Common. And that law places some responsibilities on everybody that we register. And therefore, anybody who is a registered builder has an obligation under the law to the society and to the regulatory body. Currently, the professionals in the real estate, in my understanding, can be called the land surveyors, the town planner, the architects, the builder, the quantity surveyors, the engineers, the estate surveyors, and sometimes amongst this, another is pulled out and called the project manager. And when the building is completed and is ready for occupation, the facility manager comes in. All these people come into play. In my experience, I have seen that estates are built and let out, but the management of the estate, which should be done by facility managers, are left to anybody who carries out that function without adequate preparation. The facility manager's role cannot be downplayed in the shifting landscape that we currently have. Now, the builder that I'm principally concerned about is the person who translates the drawings, schedules, specification, and then analyzes the buildability and maintainability of the building, and is a professional at the core of physical construction of buildings. And by virtue of his strategic roles and responsibility as enshrined in the National Building Code, he leads the construction team. In other words, from the time that the builder moves to take possession of site, up to the time he hands over the key of a completed project to the project owner, whatever happens in between these two levels are the responsibility of the builder. Whereas other professionals come and go as at when needed, the builder is resident and is in charge of all that takes place there. Common has a document that is called Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct for Builders. Now, in this Code of Ethics, we talk about what it is to be a registered builder, the discipline dealing with what is good and bad about moral duty and obligation, a set of acceptable moral principles and values and what ought to be, a theory or system of moral principles governing the appropriate conduct of an individual, and a code of morality. We also expect that our builders are to promote world best practices in all stages of building construction and project procurement delivery. We expect that our builders are to set standards of acceptable behavior in the industry via a code of commercial ethics. We also expect that builders are to adhere with government codes and guidelines applicable to the industry. You will recall that in my goodwill message, not only did I mention the National Building Code, I said the laws of Lagos State that are relevant to our practice must be obeyed and complied with. They must comply with the spirit and the letter of the law. They must conduct equitable complaint and disciplinary measures. We deal with a set of people that have very short fuse, especially employees and workers in the construction industry. And we need to understand their mannerism and to handle out appropriate disciplinary measures when they arise, when the need arises. To continue to develop the potential of the industry's human resource. If we don't train and retrain, we will soon lose the industry. And so, if there must be new entrants into an industry, training cannot be removed from our culture. And then, of course, we must change the culture of the industry through the development of non-adversarial partnership concept and the continuous improvement of benchmarking of the industry performance. One of the things that have hindered the construction industry in Nigeria is the atomistic relationship between the professionals in the built environment. I am sure that with the experience we are gathering now, we have realized that together we win. Disparately working, we all lose together. You find that most of the developments in this country are not being managed by indigenous Nigerian professionals. And the painful aspect of it is that the professionals that are imported to manage these industries are not as qualified as us. So we must learn to work together. We must learn to respect our boundaries. We must learn to be experts indeed, and not only in Nigeria, but internationally. And that takes me to our being ready to imbibe state-of-the-art culture. We must know what is happening in the international environment. And technology has come to help us. We don't need to travel anywhere to know what is happening in the other parts of the world. So I've been one that I'm taking a lot of time, but I want to talk about corrupt practices. And I will just mention a few that...
Hello, sir. I will allow you to still speak on corrupt practices.
Okay.
We will come there.
All right.
So I think we have already done the first part of the assignment that has been given to you. So the common chairman has said something. We are talking about what is to be done, but he has shown light on who is to do it, right? The professionals that are required. Now, I want to call on Mr. Honorable Bayowa Poshak. The housing deficit, according to the CBN report of 2019, was put at over 20 million units, with an increasing rate of 15% on an annual basis, thereby putting serious pressure on even the existing ones that are on ground. From your expertise, how do you think we can actually navigate through this huge problem that we have before us, considering the fact that that landscape is shifting at an alarming rate? Thank you. Just 10 minutes too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate the National Institute of Builders, the team led by the President. This is a lovely thing to put together. I think, yes, the landscape is shifting. What I'm going to talk about is on the demand side. Even though it's very, very important we look at the supply, because without the supply, the demand cannot come to fruition. Now, and obviously, when you're talking about supply, you're talking about construction. And basically, for the demand to thrive, for people to get houses or homes, it's important that those homes are built, well laid out, they have all the infrastructure that is supposed to be in place. And obviously, that is why builders are very, very, very important in this game. Now, if you look at where I come from and what I represent here, sitting on this side, the Lagos State Government and Lagos State Mortgage Board, we have an acronym called Lagos Homes, and basically that's the home ownership mortgage scheme, which was started in 2014. The board was created definitely for just one reason: to reduce the housing deficit in Lagos State. Now, from data, we have...
Sorry, Mr. Kosak, please, can you just hold a minute? While I invite to this table, this podium, Mr. Tokumbo, representing the MD of Lasaco. Please join us. I learned you are supposed to be part of this. Thank you. So, sorry, you can go on.
So basically, that was why the agency was created, to reduce the housing deficit. And when you look at the deficit, and I want to probably just stereotype it to Lagos, we had about 4 million. And that means the government, including the private sector, have to build a minimum of 10,000 units a month to be able to mitigate the housing deficit, which is a total of about 120,000 a year. I mean, with what is on ground, I doubt it if we could meet those challenges. Hence, the Lagos Homes mortgage scheme was created for people to get home, to have access to affordable homes. Initially, we started with the mortgage scheme where you pay a 30% down payment and the rest is spread over 120 months, which is 10 years. Now, the prices were actually subsidized at that point for people to come onto it, and basically because of that scheme, the supply end, it was very, very crucial that we got it right. If we couldn't build probably about 10,000 a month, how many can we bring on? Because initially it was a cash and carry thing prior to 2014. If you don't have 25 million, 10 million, 15 million cash, you can't buy. So that scheme actually mitigated the housing deficit. Now, we now saw that the 30% itself was a big deal for people, most especially civil servants, artisans, people who obviously do not get high wages. Then in 2016, we looked at it very well and we reduced the equity contribution to 5%. Now, that actually enhanced so many people. But today, I think if we look back, we have probably a minimum of about 10,000 Lagos residents who have benefited from this scheme. And when I say 10,000, I mean probably if one particular person gets a house, then that means it transfers to about 4 or 5 people. And in calculating that, we have well over 10,000 between 2014 and now. And the government, led by the government, is pushing to put out more housing units. And that's where the builders come into play. I had the royal father who spoke about us going vertical. That is very, very key. I mean, going vertical will enhance more houses, even though we started off with some bungalows in Ekpe. We have built around the 5 divisions of Lagos, where we have in Agbowa, we have some in Ilupeju, down to Shombotedo, phase 1, phase 2. We have at least so many around the corner. But what we're trying to do now is to build more. And I believe this 4 year as well, the government will be listening, the private sector as well will come. And even after allocation, there's a pre-qualification process. I don't want to take too much of your time. You can actually get in touch. For those who don't know about Lagos Homes, can actually get in touch with us via our website, which I'll be giving to you now, www.lagoshomes.gov.ng. If you want me to repeat that, www.lagoshomes.gov.ng. You can get in touch with us if you are interested. But I still believe that the Institute of Builders, we need you, and as the Commissioner for Housing has said, we need you to come in, to partner with us in the state government, to give us advice, to support us, so that we can actually reduce this housing deficit, even though we're doing very much. And even after allocation, there is the issue of insurance that is key and statutory. We make sure that in case of untimely death, God forbid, and in case of fire, there is a statutory insurance policy that is actually put in place for these schemes. There is also the facilities management services as well, which all estates are statutorily engaged as well. And I think for now, a single interest rate, what you will get from the banks, if for example you bought Ilupeju scheme where you pay just probably 125,000, 130 for a 3-bedroom on a monthly basis. If you go to the banks outside you might just be paying about 400,000. So it's highly subsidized. I think I'll probably just rest my case as is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation and insight into what the Lagos homes have been doing, because I think that's a very, very good information. And that leads us to another concern. And I think I'm going to change the approach of our discussion. I'm going to bring forth one of the issues that the anchor has actually laid the foundation for. And thereafter, each of the discussants will speak to that. He raised a very, very germane issue about climate change. The World Economic Forum in 2019 published a report, and in that report, 11 cities were identified to be sinking cities. And somehow, our dear Lagos appeared on that list. And that report says that in 8 years' time, Lagos may be below the water level. Therefore, I want to know from our various perspectives what we need to be doing differently. Because I've seen, like I was sharing with someone a few days ago, I said, thank God we are not alone in this. Because about 3 cities in the United States, we are also on that list. Texas, Massachusetts, and I think Virginia. But the difference is that I also know that there are buildings. For example, there is an hospital building that I researched recently in Massachusetts that decided to have their foundation, what we call the oversight concrete level, to be above the 500 years projection. You know, that's 8 years projection. Now they decided to go 500 years projection. So as a city and as a body of professionals, what should we be doing in light of this forecast and this concern? So this time around, I'm going to start from the Esprit, then we'll come all the way back to Mr. Forsyth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Just as we have mentioned, as a professional, that is, as an insurance professional, my concern will be, one, to ensure that the builder, or yes, the contractor now, has, one, the right personnel, two, ensure that he complies with all the laws that has to do with building. For example, just like what the experience we have on the four square building that happened in Lagos. As an insurance personnel, from our own side of the contract, we expect that for every builder, once you need to have the right personnel on site, ensure that you comply with all the laws. Two, ensure that you make use of the right personnel that will do the job. And we are talking about collapse now. That is, the building collapsing. On the side of the underwriter, which is the insurance personnel, what I would expect the builders to do is that the builders may ensure that there are safety on site. And how do you guarantee the safety? That is, you must have the insurance cover to cover any form of eventualities that may arise in terms of body injury, damage to third-party property, damage to the workers on site, and that you also ensure that the contractor or the builder comply with the regulatory laws that have to do with building. For the insurance, in Lagos State, it is now a law that builders must have a guarantee, at least a security for buildings that is above certain levels of height. That is, any building that is above 2 floors, you must have a compulsory insurance, that is to protect the liability of the builders, and that is what we call the builder's liability. It covers the damage to the building, bodily injury, damage to workers, and properties of the workers on site. And from the insurance perspective, that is what I think the builders will require in order to protect their liabilities or any form of eventualities that may arise as a result of any form of injury or. Thank you.
Yeah, well, as I can't pretend not to be part of this. I mean, being here. But there's something we must do quickly and to redirect our discussion, which you started. Okay? Now, we must take note of the fact that human activities are part of the things that generate this shifting landscape, whether we like it or not. And some of these activities, as we are talking about, they are the drivers of climate change. And mostly due to burning fossils, fuels, and all that, the activities of women. So for us now to be able to establish very well what we are discussing, we must now begin to look at the idea of the activities of human that are leading us to this shifting landscape. It's very, very important. And some of these things that we are talking about generate the greenhouse gases that are causing climate change, the activities of humans. Okay? And I want to also establish a fact. You seem to be mixing the contractor and the builder. They are not the same. Anybody can be a contractor, but anybody cannot be a builder except you are well trained and you are certified as a builder. So as an insurance person, I will not take that as an excuse, because you are going to insure my activities as a builder, so you must know who you are insuring. And so I just use that to redirect some of the discussion so that we can go on. So since you say we must move this way, then let's give it to the next person.
Thank you very much. The next person.
All right, thank you very much.
What's your name?
Okay, my name is Laiwola Akoy. I'm representing my MD, Mr. Toby Lawal, who is unavoidably absent. Apologies for his side, so I'm taking him up and has to quickly attend to that. So in result, we are from the finance side, so we're the mortgage company. That's what we got, LBIC. So in terms of what you discussed about climate change, said the process by talking about personnel and all, and human beings, it starts from us. So the developers as well have to build eco-friendly buildings as well. They have to take this into consideration in terms of what they're doing. And we need to direct our positions as well. So there must be synergy and all that between the developers and what they are actually building as well. So we need to do that. Once that is taken into consideration, every other thing can fall into place. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you, the moderator. Once again, I'm Engineer Dr. Kodri from Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute. I'm here to represent my director, Dr. Charles Osadebe. As far as climate change is concerned, my own contribution will be that we all know that the emission of greenhouse gas majorly is the cause of climate change. So it is not left for us professionals now to think inwards and start looking in the direction of harnessing most of the waste we have around us, so as to reduce this emission. Most especially, the most important material in the beauty industry, construction industry, is the cement. In the course of the production of cement, there is emission of greenhouse gas. So we need to look at how to reduce the use of cement to a large extent by probably replacing them with pozzolanic material. A lot of research findings have been, a lot of researches have been done by researchers in the beauty industry, and NIGERIAN has done a lot when it comes to promoting local content in that area too. NIGERIAN has a pozzolana cement that could be used to partially substitute cement to about 30%, and it could be used for a grade 20 concrete. So I think if this is embraced, using pozzolanic materials to replace cement, it will reduce this climate change to a drastic level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Kadri, we are coming back to you because I think you are one of those on the hotspots. There are hotspots on some of these seats, so your own seat is one of the hotspots. Give Dr. Opanwa your response.
Thank you very much. The focus you want us to have about sinking cities and our response is a global phenomenon, and that is the climate change. And coming to terms with climate change is the fact that all of us in this planet Earth must come to. The ozone layer is depleting, and so temperatures are increasing, and then the sea levels are rising. Within the period that you have mentioned, Lagos, particularly the coastal lines of Lagos, is expected, the water level is expected to rise between 1 and 3 meters under that period. So, what must we do as professionals? We must be strategic in our plans. That means if I get to VI, Bar Beach, and I measure 3 meters up, I should take a level there. And that is where probably will be safe in the next 30, 40 years. So, in effect, I need to have a short-term, medium-term, and long-term approach to the solution. The short-term, I should be able to stop development under that area for that level, unless it is designed in such a way that it can withstand water. Having said that, I also know that if water overruns, is it permanent? Is it periodic? These are things that studies will show. If it is periodic, then we can design appropriate structures that will stand there in the short time, and when it goes to receipts, then activities can also continue after some renovation work has been done. But meanwhile, major infrastructural development should avoid these areas of Lagos, and then we should move to more higher terrains, and then put up structures that will stand the test of time. Then in the long term, it is that we should all, like my colleague has said, make sure that we do things that will not damage our environment. So there must be a conscious effort now to protect the environment by ensuring that we do not increase the greenhouse gas emissions, we do not do things that will harm the generation that is coming. So my suggestion would be that We have a short term, a medium term, and a long term, both as a government, as investors, and as individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Engineer Rufus Shobunadi, the General Manager of Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory. My own contribution to the topic of climate change, because prior to climate change, it started from global warming. So we have abandoned the causes of climate change. There are so many factors, that makes the climate to change. I don't want to spend too much time, but what is important is that what are the factors that are impacting the built environment as a result of climate change? I think that's what I want to dwell on. One, we talk about worker safety. Two, we talk about weather-related delays. Three, we talk about materials manufacturing and design, and huge insurance costs. And if we take all these factors one by one, you would agree with me that it is high time both the NIOB, the government, at all levels, should come up with climate action plan. Not until we do this, we cannot know the right solution. And of course, there are a lot of cities which have developed predominantly from over 60-70% of water terrain. So we can train, we can develop capacity, and we can learn from their experience. And such country, I'll mention one, and that's Netherlands, Holland. Back in the days, you will find out that predominantly Holland is purely on water. But when you go to Amsterdam today, there is a technology that has been adopted that makes their city safe. And it's equally important that we need to build resilience, into every city, especially the riverine from south, the Delta area up to Lagos. We need to start thinking about building resilience. How can we do that? We can do that based on, action plans. Because at the end of the day, what is the effect of the climate change? Perhaps flooding, high ferritic level, water table. It will interest you that Eco-Atlantic Sea in the early 1950s, according to some report, the shore of Eco-Atlantic City is actually 2 kilometers away from where it is today. And you can understand the heavy-duty construction going on there, whereby they are trying to, landfill the place and build a modern city there. So there are a lot of things we can do in terms of, climate change. And of course, there's a human face and the artificial face. Well, how it concerns the builders or the building industry is those 4 factors. For example, worker safety is important. When it's raining heavily, water is coming up. Are they equipped to swim? Are they equipped enough for them to resist that hazard? And again, when you talk about materials as well, we need to look into local content. What are the things we can annex, to develop in terms of materials manufacturing? Then in terms of the design, we need to start incorporating, the effect of social climate change into most of the designs that will be built. I think I will have to stop here. I really don't want to take our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, because I was afraid we are not going to stop. And I was also constrained not to stop you, because you raised a very, very serious issue of resilience, right? From the perspective of materials, as well as even the workforce, because recently we are worried about the level of heat and how the heat impacts on the workers of construction sites, right? And the adaptation interventions that are necessary to ensure that our workforce don't end up being sick just because they are working on our construction site. I think is one of those research that we are kickstarting at the university within one of the research groups that I belong. So thank you very much for that insightful contribution. Yes, sir.
Yeah, climate change and the forecast of where we will be in 80 years, thereabouts. One, I will want to take it more to what the role of the builder, what the builder will be able to do, to see that our city, Lagos, do not go down. Now, it starts with planning. And I am an advocate of having builders at the table of design. Because as a practical person, things you see, the average man who designs from the office may not see them. So by the time you bring the builder in at the design stage, he sees beyond just putting the design, visual design on the table, right? And we have a particular project currently that we have from the level within that corridor, because we did a topography survey, we realized that that domain is like a dome, right? So you see almost every development within that corridor, I mentioned it, having to use pumping machines to take out the water from their pump. Now, when we went to start our development, what did we do? We took the highest level, right? Because we were able to get this information at the point of design. So, if you stand in front of the development I'm talking about, you see that your ground level is there and the house is around about almost 2 meters, right? But there is a problem to that. It is not every developer that want to go that length, right? So these are things. Also, I want to bring the government into this. Government, we private individuals who go into development do not have the resources to do a 3 meters foundation. You know what that means, right? So government must begin to look at how do we're looking at this corridor now. What is the highest level that this water is going to go to? Now, within that corridor, is there anything government can do to probably channel water out more? So these are things that government, I think, must look into. And our human behavior, waste control, it is key. Why do we have so much flooding in some areas within Lagos? It is because of how we manage our waste. Everybody throws them anyway, right? And the few canals that we have, majority, 60–70% of them are blocked. Why wouldn't we have? So that, for me, it's about preparing our minds from the design stage. We begin to look at these are issues that are coming up. How do we mitigate them? This is one of them I had mentioned. Now, government must also look at how to plan, right? Government must begin to look at this is the problem it has been identified. What is the solution? We must begin to look at how do we channel water. You just made mention of Netherlands that was ordinarily below water, but they've been able to innovate, on how to handle that, and they are safe. So I think that would be my contribution to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we take the next round of questions that's going to be round on, because this first part has given us incisive conversations into the shifting landscape on a very, very general basis now. I'm aware that the common chairman has a flight to catch because he's been around all week. So I would want to start this next phase with him. Your common chairman, sir, can you give us your round-up view on some of these issues? Because I know you actually wanted to speak about ethics, corruption practices, and all of that before I actually rounded you up the first time. So you have the floor now, sir.
Thank you. I was going to talk about the challenges of corruption in the real estate sector. And this cuts across both public and private sector. Indeed, it is an unsalutary accolade we get as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I do not agree that we and construction sector, because rightly so it consumes a huge chunk of our national resources and government patronages. And so for builders and for professionals in the real estate, it is important for us to know exactly what corruption is, because some of the things we do and think we are just assisting is corruption. Some of the activities we embark upon, either knowingly or unknowingly, is corruption. And whereas you are doing it unintentionally, somebody else will capitalize on that and then rob the system of much needed resources and wealth that would have gone around the entire society. I want to mention a few of them. Inappropriate facilitation of payment, for instance. You are managing an estate and you have subcontractors or contractors under you. They have not reached the milestone for payment, but they have convinced you that their material is on the way coming, or they have done something or that, and you just use emotions and say, okay, let's approve for payment. You tell your developer that he has reached a stage that he has not reached, only for you to be embarrassed later because the man goes and all the excuses or reasons he gave you are not correct, or he intentionally lied to you. So we must not facilitate payment in any way. No use of emotions in the discharge of our professional responsibility. We can be good to people, we can smile at them, but we must know our boundaries. The rules and regulations must be complied with to the letter. Don't pay for work not done. The certificate you issue says payment for work done and materials on site. Let it be exactly that. Then there's the question of fraud. Fraud, we normally look at fraud as something that is when a misrepresentation has taken place. But most times, as we saw recently in the construction ecosystem, is that when you have 14 mm rod in the place of 16 mm, you have connived in a fraudulent act. The buyer, the seller, they inform you that this is what we use, this is the one we call 16 mm. It doesn't change the diameter because it's calling it 16 mm. And if you agree with him to utilize such material in your site, you have connived and you have done a fraudulent act, whether you know it or not. And it behoves on us as professionals to ensure that what we are handling is the correct item, the correct specification, the correct quality. So if you want to buy any material or to apply any material, in case you are not even the supplier, but you are the user, you must ensure that what you are using is the right quality, and that takes measuring equipment. Today, there are so many hand-carried measuring equipment. You can afford to gauge the diameter of your rod right there on site, and you don't need to call for any test before you are able to identify what you are using. If you use a substandard product, because that is what you are giving, you are equally liable of embarking on that fraud, because you knew that it was substandard and you used it. Then there's a question of embezzlement. Funds. Taking funds that don't belong to you. We find that a lot. People work under us. We are not the only professionals involved. When their resources get into our hands, we capitalize on it. Even areas that is not our specialty, we want, because we need the resources, we do it when we are not qualified. Or even when we are qualified, we are not licensed. All those are things that we must not allow to happen on site. Then there's, of course, for public servants, especially, and those who are in the employ of private sector companies, secret ownership. You are a builder on site, or you are a manager of a procurement or a process or a construction process, and your own company is involved in carrying out business where you are a deciding authority. It's a very common fraud, corruption that takes place in our system. You are the builder on site, or you are the one supervising the estate, the development, or real estate, and your wife is the supplier of materials. All these things, they compromise our system. Time will not allow me to go through the details of a number of them. But there's a final one that I must mention, and that is very current in our country today. Money laundering. Poor and dirty money is being channeled into the construction sector. We should be very careful of being agents of money laundering, either knowingly or unknowingly. That money that is employing you to build houses that you know, in the areas that you are even building, you are not likely to get clientele. Check. Don't be an agent of money laundering. Thank you.
Okay. So in conclusion, we would like to direct this question directly to Engineer Quadri. We just had a robust conversation on the effect of climate change in the construction industry, and you are into research. We would like to know, basically, what are the effects towards cement, plastering, painting, and basic materials we use all the time, and how do you see the acceptance of your research and the results into the society and the professionals at large?
Okay, thank you very much. One of our technologies.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. We want to appreciate our common chairman. He has to leave for his flight. So please let's applaud him as he leaves. And also along the line, as discussion was going on, we had Mr. Moses Itonola representing the MD of Architect Femi Adewale Family Homes. We recognize your presence, sir. We also recognize the presence of from the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, Mr. Soji Olasukomi. You are most welcome. We also want to acknowledge the presence of Colonel Builder Gabriel Ode. You are all welcome. So we can continue with the discussion. Sorry.
Thank you very much. NIGERIAN had a technology stabilized interlocking blocks produced from laterite. It stabilized with 5% of cement. So we have Ozolana too that can be used to substitute cement to about 30%. Most of these materials have been standardized because the conventional materials we use, like cement, like the normal concrete block,
My common chairman, sir, you have to go with this. There's something to be presented to you here. Can I ask the president of NIOB, to present this straight to him so that he goes with this? Sorry, discussants, we need to make this. All right, so let this be presented to him.
Wow. This is really Lagos for sure. On behalf of the Lagos State chapter, I'm presenting this acquisition plan presented to Builder and the Builder Engineer Dr. Samson A. Opaluwa. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Building. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and also a fellow of the Institution of Civil Engineering and Management. So the chairman, Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria, and the group CEO of Caris Group, everything encompassed. As the resource person at the 31st Lagos Builders Conference and annual general meeting on Wednesday, 19th October 2022, by the order of the Executive Committee.
Let's put a round of applause for her. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry, we have to break protocol. Sorry, I will assure you I won't stop you again.
Thank you very much. Like I was saying, there are standards being used to certify most of these conventional materials like cement, concrete blocks. So these same standards are being used to certify our home. And we had already done that and they met the normal criteria. Like in the case of Pozolana, I said the 30%, you can only substitute cement up to 30%. If you go beyond that, you are on your own. So it is only up to 30%, at least you can be rest assured that it could be used as a grade 20 concrete. And as for the interlocking blocks, already they are accepted. Because most of the constituency projects being built or done by all these politicians are being done using our materials. They are all over the country. Thank you.
You just mentioned that the materials are being used all over the country. But how is this knowledge being passed down to the common man on the street? Because you just mentioned just the politician. As a builder, how many of those products are we even aware are available in the market? The clients, how many are they aware? The architects and other professionals in the field, how readily available are these materials to them, or their awareness about this material?
About the awareness, there is a department in our institute, CES department, we call it extension, construction extension, I think extension, it has to do with the extension of services. So this department is saddled with the responsibility of selling our technologies to the populace. So already there are a lot of programs being done by the institute to train artisans all over the country. Most people might not be aware, but there are programs ongoing to sensitize people about our products. We will continue to do more anyway. Probably most people don't know. We will continue to do more. We will improve on that.
I think that's the take home with respect to the shifting landscape. That for NIBRI is doing a lot, but the awareness is very, very poor. And I'm really afraid whether there is enough capacity to scale up some of those innovations. Because it's one thing for you to have a product. It's another thing for you to be able to scale up to meet the demand of the market. So I think we need to look at that because we need NIBRI more than ever, especially at this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So Engineer Fusion. One of the challenges that is currently plaguing the shifting landscape, it's testing of materials or availability of these materials. Like rightly said, he said when you have a reinforcement, there's some equipment we can use. But the problem should be, or our problem is, why do we even have so much substandard materials readily available? What can we do? Yes, we know we have SOM, but why are we waiting for those materials to get to site first? Before, sometimes it's even being used before people are coming to test. Why are we waiting for that? Are there measures or ways we can think about of working this more effectively?
Well, thank you for your question. I think this is purely due to human being. I can't attribute it to any other factor than human being. I don't want to talk about civilized world. In the civilized world, you know you can't even think of it. Not to talk of even procuring it. So let's look at it. I'm not passing the buck to any agency or any organization. How would you believe when they import material? Yeah? I'm just citing that as an example. And the test certificate they sent with that material telling you is of quality. How do you check or deduce it's of quality? The only way we can remove quackery, because people want to eat. Everybody wants to live in Banana Island. Everyone wants to live in Lekki. So the fastest way they can make money, the better for them. And that is why Lagos State government is seriously investing in Lagos State material testing laboratory, investing several hundreds of millions, procuring, specialized equipment. I think I have to disagree with the chairman that just said that when you're on site as a builder, you can take, I remember, we used to use vernier caliper to, determine the diameter. If you determine the diameter and the diameter is correct, does that mean the material is of good quality? So for me, this is why I always advise even the builders who are the custodian of that building construction to make sure materials are taken to registered laboratories or material testing laboratories to check. And you see these people that are these suppliers, they can be crafty sometimes. So the advice that I always give people, I'm just using steel reinforcement as an example. Just put somebody there, let them give you the samples. It only takes 20-30 minutes to check the tensile strength of, in the case of steel reinforcement, so that if it is okay, then you can procure. But if you leave the place, by the time they tell you it's not okay, and you go there, or the time they tell you it's okay and you go there, they will sell you a fake material. And going forward, in order to cut down the risks, what the government is doing through material testing laboratories, that anytime we test any component, any building component, be it concrete cube, be it steel reinforcement, if it fails, we will now write to that company. We need to know where those materials are procured from. We need to know which cement you use, which components, so that the government can withdraw it from circulation. And it goes further towards, even if I test a house, if I carry out a non-destructive test, and the house is not fit for habitation, I will write LABCA immediately to go and put that, building down. So I think the government have a lot to do in terms of counterfeiters, in terms of, quackery in this society, because it's really getting too rampant and is creating menace and is increasing or exacerbating the incessant building collapse in Lagos. And not until that solution is resolved or solved, then we will still be, I guess.
Yes, 1 minute, you still hold on, sir. And I know Dr. Randolph asked, because your seat is also an hotspot. So I didn't tell you earlier. I think
the landscape is actually changing, and that's our discussion. The landscape is shifting. The model we have presently, in my own opinion, I think is the model that works for when things were good, right? You know, you take your cubes to the lab, the cubes results don't get out until there is another slab on that particular present slab, right? And all of that. As at September 2022, 18 buildings have collapsed in Lagos State alone. 18. Therefore, my question now is that, what is your take in the need
power? Why are we burning generators? So, see, some things you cannot fault. But I agree, it's human error. And again, lastly, the government of today is adopting your white paper. I was in a meeting with the commissioner for the new commissioner for physical planning and some people, and they are going to, you know, put building control under professionals. I want you to be rest assured that your paper will be, you know, carried out eventually. No, I said that the government is aware that, you know, it doesn't have capacity in terms of, you know, government itself controlling building. Okay? So I'm sure plan is at the highest level, you know, to use professionals to start in conjunction with LABCA to start controlling buildings in Lagos State.
Thank you very much. I think we want to throw the question and the conversation open to so that we can have insights from audience also. But before we do that, I want to also add to the conversation of the climate action by Bidarendra. Yeah, you see, the truth of the matter is that we just need to engage professionals because there are several dimensions to it. Studies have shown that 40% of the final energy demand globally is as a result of building activities of people or people's activities in buildings. So if 40% of final energy demand is attributed to the construction industry, then what that means is that majority of the fossil fuel is as a result of what we do. And you know, for some of us that are in the research world, the first time I read about that, I went further to probe, and I realized that 60% of this energy is actually for cooling and illuminating buildings. And what that means is that now that the landscape is shifting, we need to begin to rethink our cooling options and our lighting options. We can see where we are now. This is just a single floor, and yet we've not leveraged on day lighting or natural light in any way. The whole place is boxed up, and we need to do a lot of artificial lighting for us to see ourselves, and yet the place is not even well illuminated enough. So as professionals, there are several things that, like somebody said to me, that we need to keep updating the templates. Our own templates will not keep us going in the next 80 years. It's clear. By 2100, so many things will have happened. And for us to actually cut down on the negative impact of the realities of this time, we need to begin to do a lot of rethinking and redefinition of our template. So on that note, I want to call on the audience if you have any question, you want to add to the conversation, or you want to ask questions. It is now, the floor is open for you. Thank you.
Yes, we can make it so robust. Let's have more contributions. More contributions. You can ask questions. Within a few minutes. Yes.
So you tell us your name, please, before your question or your comment.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on the existing protocol. My name is Sunday Modi, registered builder. I work in the private sector. So the team is so interested in the shifting landscape. What can the panelists tell us, this house, in the next 50 years? When the landscapes must have shifted, what can we do to keep them sustainable? In the next 50 years, in the next 80 years, how can we sustain these landscapes that has shifted? Thank you very much.
Well, let me quickly put that question right. Now, the landscape has not shifted. Its present continuous shifting. It's not finished shifting. So don't let us create an alarm. All right? Yes. They can run on that word shift. And so it's continuing. But all we need to do is for us to arrest the shifting. And how do we do it? Let's do the right thing. Okay? So I will leave it to the panelists now. So I just wanted to correct that. It has not shifted.
Yes, thank you, sir. It hasn't shifted, but for us to make our plans now sustainable, I think it is important. Every country is coming up with climate action plan. I'm not sure whether we have one in Nigeria or in the state, but I think it's what the government of the day should invest in. It's financially intensive, okay? It's financially intensive, and you will see in what they did in Kaduna when one of the contestants made a metaphorical comment. You understand? I don't want to be political, but it is very financially intensive. But this is the time Nigeria should come up with their own climate action plan, either in construction industry or building or civil infrastructure. So that when we get to that 50 years time, we would have made the plan now. It will be too late waiting for that time before we make plan. Thank you.
Yes, let me let you know that the president, our president, President Muhammadu Buhari, actually gave an insight into Nigeria's focus regarding climate change at the UN, United Nations. So we are thinking about it. We can't afford to lay back on this. It's very, very important. Okay.
All right, this one is something that, we're talking about it, our attitude as well towards the environment and all that has to change. Because they are the ones that need the environment. The environment doesn't need them. And so we have to bear that in mind. There's a documentary or something that shows on CNN in terms of that. So we have to change our attitude towards the environment. By so doing, things will improve for us.
So I guess we can have more questions so that we treat all of them at once. Then we now move to the next level.
Yeah, Nossi Isaka, my name is. I stand on the existing protocol. My question goes directly to Engineer Quadri. My question is this: what connection does your organization has with the tertiary institution? Being that your institute has to do with research work, several research works have been carried out in the universities and polytechnics like that. They are just lying down there. Some of them are fantastic. Then, secondly, you made mention of Pozzolana as a partial replacement of cement. I could remember vividly some years ago, a research was carried out at the Government University in Ife on soap brick and hydra form. That is interlocking block. I don't know if it's this same technology we are talking about when we were talking about interlocking block. Now, concerning that now, a research was carried out as in partial replacement of cement using conch or brush. And it was found that about 0.48% of the corn cobs that were burnt into ashes. Because when we talk of cement, as you rightly said, it has to go into fine stuff. Now, in order to achieve that fineness, the corn cob were burnt, dried and burnt. So now, taking for example, assuming this building now, it is filled with corn cob, dry corn cob. By the time you grind it before burning, or even if you, okay, let us say you are burning directly, what you have at the end of the day is going to be like 0.49, about 0.49%. So you cannot imagine, is that economical, considering the stress that you pass through in sourcing corn cob? So in my view, in case anybody is going to carry out any research on such kind of material, I think it would be better it is used in fine, as in without being burnt. Because the more you burn it, it's reduced to the minimum, to the least. However, if it is grinded, it could still be used as probably like sealing materials after you must have added certain chemicals. That's what I have. Thank you.
Let's have more questions so that we can take it at once.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Kushima Oke, a proud builder. Sir, my question goes to the GM LSMTL. First of all, I appreciate what he said earlier, that government are working on decentralizing the material testing laboratory into Ibile. Yeah, I appreciate that, sir. Sir, I want to ask, what is your agency doing to facilitate the to release the results of the tensile strengths being carried out? Because the result is being delayed. In most sites, if you ask for their result, for 2 months, 3 months, you won't get results. So, what are you doing about this? So that we'll be having the results on time. Thank you very much, sir.
Any more questions? Or should we tackle those two first? Okay.
The moderator and members of the HAP. I'm Professor A. Rahim. I've listened to discussions, and I think I need to make some clarifications and contributions at this level. One, if we have to shift the landscape, and in this case, the landscape I want to talk about shifting is how do we combat failure of buildings when it's becoming too rampant, especially in Lagos State, that we know that they have been doing a lot in that area. But to me, basically, two things are the causes of this failure in building. Two, just two. The first one is what you all know, corruption. No other name for it but corruption. The second one is not engaging professional builders. You talk of corruption. Corruption starts right from pre-construction, before the award, before the contractor gets the award letter. Things are changed hands. So how do you now expect him not to do something tangible on the side when maybe over 70% of the money has gone? Even eventually when he gets to the site, due to some other corners that people do, you go and start using inferior material, you engage people that are not professional, you do all sorts of things. You see, if you have to change the landscape, it has to start from us. Attitudinal change is very, very important. If you don't change our attitude. If you don't run away from this shortcut, all these make-rich syndrome that we do every time, we want to make money at all costs, not finding from where and whose honor is lost, we are still going to have problem. Because Lagos State have tried in some cases. They've set up task forces. The task force themselves, sometimes they get compromised. So how will really not fail? You send people to go on site and take measurements of material. Before you even get to that, look at concrete, for instance. You want to take concrete strength. How can you take strength of concrete when work has already commenced on site and the building is already 1 floor or 2 floors, and you expect that when the thing fails, they will come and demolish? If you need to do strength, there are tests that you can carry out now that within 7 days you get a tangible result that will give you what you are. And then this test is not just come once and for all that you do. Just come and take test this time and you forget about it the next month when a lot of things. And another thing, even those tests, they will specially prepare your test sample that they are taking to factory and to the lab to test. They specially prepare it. Test samples should be collected on the spot while they are casting the slab or while they are casting the column or beam. Not special preparation. On the spot collection of samples. If you don't do all this, the building will continue to fail. I think we need to know that. Secondly, professionals. You get to Ashanti, a lot of people are outside. Quacks. People will tell you this is the way we have been doing it for years. They will mix cement and sand in blood and cement. You have blocks instead of casting, getting correct mix ratio for block. You want to get about 35, 45, 50 units of block on one bag of cement. How will building not fail? It will fail. So I think we need to look at all these things totally. If we don't, the building will, and that is when the landscape will shift. We want to build and build well, and that is when the landscape will shift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. And I think we can put a lead there. Let's have feedback from here. And I think the most of it comes towards the GM of Lagos State Material Testing Lab. And just before you have to remind now, let me also remind you, just like last time, you can also outsource your activities. We have universities, we have College of Technology that has labs. You can begin to accredit their laboratory and do the calibration of their machines. I want to tell you that I am the head of the department of building the material, and we have lab, and I'm coming to cooperate with you so that you will send your test to my lab and you will accredit us. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't think nowadays in Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory that a steel test will take months. Okay, let me tell you, on my assumption of office, I found out that I have thousands of test reports, both concrete, both steel, unclaimed. And the system that was adopted, you know, builders will come, oh please we need this, once the test result come out, we will come and collect it and pay. Immediately they make a call, is it okay? They won't come back, they will not pay. So I decided that no test must be carried out. I underline the word must. Without payment. If you pay, it's a steel test. Cannot be more than 15 minutes max. You can wait and collect it. I can't be running like headless chicken all over Lagos State, calling people to come and collect tests. You that you know that you wanted the result of your test, then you should be responsible to collect the test. I know material testing had that negative publicity prior to me getting there, but not the material testing of today. A lot of people will testify to that. Leaving that question, the next one, I've said it in one of my submissions or representations here. material testing has outsourced all their responsibilities to technical and non-technical. But I have issues with tertiary institutions. I've written some of the vice chancellors. Tertiary institutions, laboratories are established for educational purpose. And I repeat, educational purpose. I don't understand the school that we've been through, all the equipment that we have seen, we are still using them. The world has moved. Technology evolves every day. The landscape has shifted. Do you understand? So, no, to be honest, I need as many laboratories as possible to be registered. We all own Lagos. We want to protect the life of people and goods. If you know from a study that I read from my research, from 2000 to 2021, over $30 trillion have been lost in properties and so on and so forth. So this is Lagos State. We all own Lagos. Let's help each other. All the people aiding and abetting, either from the government side or from the private side, we should do something about that as well. Not until we do that and tackle the problem holistically. Well, I'm not sure the climate will shift. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Well, we will still have to get more questions. All right.
I want to ask a question, sir.
Just a minute before you ask that question. You made a very valid point, but then, sir, don't you think if you collaborate with this institution, not thinking that it's for educational reasons, that will help them to update their equipment, and they will be current. They will be able to take off some of these things from you. Your collaboration with those institutions will encourage them to remove their archaic instruments and renew them, and it will help a lot. And so the student will
Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory. We are collaborating with a university and a technical company in UK that we are going to spread to all Lagos State owned tertiary institutions. Lagos State owned, because it involves financial, it has a cost implication on the government. You see, for me, and this is the problem we have in Nigeria. Yaba will say we are federal government, Unilag will say we are federal government, you cannot regulate us, go and, do you understand? See, we need to take that away. Because all these obsolete Neolithic equipment, trust me, they cannot, I repeat, because they were developed based on algorithm, analog. They are not the new digital components of today. So their precision, is questionable. But of course, the government will be ready to partner. And like I said, we are ready to partner with any institution that is ready to partner with us. So
let's begin to shift that landscape now for better. Thank you very much. I'm voting for Unilag too. So
I think we take the conversation forward after now, because I agree with him on some areas, especially when it comes to their requirements, because we'll be battling with the issue of double standard or conflict of interest. So we take that conversation further after now. But before we move on, sorry? Yeah, there is a pending question about collaboration with NIBRI. You know, somebody asked questions about research.
Let me answer. Thank you very much. The question you asked, you want to know whether NIBRI has a good collaboration with tertiary institutions. I want to categorically tell you that NIBRI has good collaboration with tertiary institutions. In fact, as a way of social responsibility, NIBRI just procured some state-of-art equipment, laboratory equipment for some federal universities all over Nigeria. And some of our research works are being done with done in tertiary institutions. Yes. As for the Pozzolana, you said something about most of these agro-waste products that are pozzolanic in nature. When they are burned, they tend to reduce in size. Yes, I agree with you. So I would advise that the most reliable, as far as I'm concerned, is using clay material like metakaolin. If you burn, it doesn't reduce in quantity. That is what we use in NIBRI. Yes. Thank you.
So we can have more questions from the floor.
More questions?
Yes.
Please, my name is Ibrahim Abdulgafar. I'm a University of Lagos student. Sir, you said something about material testing. I want to ask my question that how do we know if the site builder, if he use a standard material, like a standard concrete for, he use a standard concrete for the build test, and he does not use the standard concrete, like standard concrete cement ratio for the work he's doing on site. How do you know, sir?
I would rather be here. Your sleep is hotter than any other person's.
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. You know, we've identified that some people will come with a good mix to be tested, but when they go back to site, they do another thing. See, we have two categories of tests, okay? And both are destructive in nature. One is done in situ, and the other one in the lab. Sometimes we carry our slug cones to do slug tests there, okay? Because for us to want to do slug tests, that means either you want to cast that slab that day, or you want to cast that particular structural member. So it's going to be so difficult for you, if it fails, for you to go with that mixture. So you need to change it. But of course, this is one of the things we are saying about ourselves as human beings, especially as Nigerians. We always want to cut corners. What's my business? My business is the sample you gave me, I tested it, it was okay. So if you go back to your site and do another thing, please, I'm not going to lose my sleep. I'm being honest with you. I have a proof that this is the sample you brought. And it was okay. So what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Okay, I'm asking you to. What will you do?
You probably wanted to lose your sleep.
About builders and what happens on the site. But I'm concerned about what goes on in the building market today in Nigeria.
we have a lot of inferior materials all over. So it's now a great, let me say, it's now almost impossible to easily get the right materials to buy in the market. Is there anything government is doing to survey this situation so that when you need a correct material, you get it easily? It's a big problem today in our nation, which we all know. So please, let's sir, please help us shed light on this, what the government is doing on this.
Okay, thank you for your question. Funny enough, somebody wants to add to the question. One of the panelists wants to add to that question.
Hello, sir. We'll be talking about site, and site. But I think that we must begin to looking at our team, shifting the landscape. We must begin to, as an agency, we must begin to look beyond going to sites to get this information. What am I saying? Don't you think it would be better and much more easier for the agency to go to the manufacturers to test what they are putting into the market for us instead of site? Because if you ask me, I think that it is more easier. Let's look at Lagos State, for example. The iron producers we have, how many are they? Probably around more than 20. Now, currently, we now have Chinese producing ties for us here, right?
Let me help you. It doesn't fall within the purview of Lagos State Material Testing Lab. That falls under SON. And yes, they fall under SON, and they are the one in charge of standards. But the most important thing is that all of us must begin to look within ourselves and say, as a professional, am I doing the right thing? It's an attitudinal thing. My colleague here was discussing this with me, an attitudinal thing. You see, everybody, let me tell you, there's a problem with change. Change is highly desirable. But the problem with change is that those who desire change, they don't do enough to achieve that change. And those who change is meant for, they resist it. And so we are at a crossroad. And how do we now achieve that change? It is you yourself within you. You make up your mind. For instance, I made up my mind in Lagos State that nothing will make me, no matter what, will make me to go on the BRT lane. Nothing. No matter the issue, I made up my mind on that. And I hope every one of us within this hall begin to make up our mind on certain things that are not helping us. Part of this is what we are discussing here. You know, the person that is doing wrong knows what is wrong. You don't need anybody to tell you what you are doing is wrong. And the government must begin to empower people. You create an empowerment for people, the atmosphere, for people to begin to see the need for them to maintain, to begin to embrace that positive change. Everybody in this room knows why buildings are collapsing. Everybody. You don't have to be a professional in the environment to know. For instance, the work that a developer will get, professionals can never get it. I stand to be corrected. I want anybody to challenge me on that. A developer will get multi-billion naira projects. But I dare you as a professional, whether you are an architect, builder, or whoever you are, come and tell me the projects you are getting. But we don't have any problem with that. That was why I faced my colleague here when you were mixing builder and contractor. But when those developers get those jobs, there's no crime in it. Call the professionals to do it. And call the right professionals. The government must also be very careful. Because there are certain things we do, even within ourselves. Let's talk about the National Building Code. I'm a member of our African Regional Standard Organization. I'm one of the two that represent Nigeria in Nairobi. You discover that lesser countries, I excuse my choice of word, just for the want of the right word to use. Lesser countries have building codes. countries like, let me just mention, I didn't say they are lesser, let me just mention. Egypt has, Rwanda has building code. Nigeria has no building code. Why is this so? And yet we have about 20-something African countries trying to harmonize the building material standard so that we can have affordable housing. And you know some of the reasons why we don't, all of you know why we don't have national building code. I bet anybody here to challenge me that we have one. It has undergone the third reading at the National Assembly, but yet to be assented to. Why? Simply because there is internal victory within the 7 built environment professionals. And the worst part of it is the choice of word that we use. When we get to areas where we have to be emphatic regarding, okay, who is in charge of construction? There we will now write relevant professionals, giving room for us to make nonsense of it. Everybody knows that for architectural design, of course, architects are the one in charge. So you write there, architects. Now, for structural design, you will write there, structural. But when it comes to construction, what do you write there? You will now put relevant professionals. Enough of all this hypocrisy. Sorry, I must sound too hard, but it's a fact.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Let's go this way.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Salisu Afis, and this is my question. We have not looked at the implication of rural-urban migration towards what we are discussing. Because when we look at the local governments in Lagos State, we have 20 local governments and 37 SCDA. And then when we look at construction, the real construction, we should look at Etiosa and Ibejuleki. That is the contemporary construction that is being developed in Lagos. What happened to Badagry local government? What happened to Ikorodu local government as real estate development is concerned? And this is my submission, sir. The government is not doing much towards transportation development, because somebody could be staying at Badagry. If there is proper transportation development, that person will be working in Lekki, but all the development is being concentrated at Lekki, Ibejuleki, and the Etiosa local government. And then we are talking about the shifting landscape agenda. What do we do towards rural-urban migration? How do we address this? Thank you very much.
Let's have more questions. I think we should begin to round up now, so that it's well exhausted. And let's have one more question to that, so that the panelists will answer, and we move on. Any other questions? Like we are getting more questions from, okay, now we are shifting here. The last place to shift to this place now.
Sorry, we want gender balance.
No,
gender equity.
You can't force that.
No, we are encouraging.
Okay.
So after this question, we can actually get to if we have female participants that want to ask questions, or female audience.
Olabisi Olajide is my name. I have two submissions. And the first one portrays one point that somebody has reached just now. When somebody wants to apply for permission, building permit, I have come across a form like that where a position for architect that will be involved and a structural engineer, but there is no provision for builder. I reach this thing sometimes in the institute. And another one pertaining to the integrity of the building that have been mentioned. If somebody wants to take a permit, at least I think that the government, during the course of issuing that permit for production, there should be a mandatory information to such developer that even after the production of this building, note that the integrity of the building will be tested again, and if it fails, then you are going to face a consequence, which in a case where you bring a sample that is so concentrated to the laboratory at the inception of the production, and later on you do something else, you must have signed a kind endeavor to see, scrutinize, scroll all through the papers of permission to see that this one has not come for integrity after production. Whereas it is very simple. The machine is very simple to operate in 30 minutes or 1 hour. The building is tested, and you know the integrity of such building. That's my submission.
Well, okay, more questions. But this time around, seated to female members of the audience.
How many percent?
All right, let's take you.
Good afternoon, sirs, the moderators and the members of the discussants. I'm not asking a question. I just want to make a contribution or like taking aloud. The theme of the conference is shifting the landscape. I'm very happy that the prof has tried to actually shift our perspective to the actual thing. In other words, what should actually be of our concern? And that is talking about, we be talking about the system building collapse and stakeholders not doing the right thing. Now, how do we now move away from that? How do we stop building collapses everywhere? And I think that is my own understanding of the theme of the discussion. And in my own opinion, I think the responsibility is for everyone. All stakeholders, developers, engineers, and government parastatals and the government agency as well. But I would say more of the responsibility is for the government. Why I say that is because human beings by their nature are very wicked, oppressive, and give them any opportunity, they misuse it. That is why there is always law in place to actually check the existence of human beings. So why government's importance in this stakeholder is important in this discussion and this problem is because government is in the position to make laws, to enforce laws, and to also make sure that the society is ordered the way it wants it. And Lagos State government, where we are now, we know that there are so many laws that have to do with physical planning, material testing, and material quality, and building code also as well. But one fact remains that this thing can be made better. That's why the law in place and all these activities of government, we still have problem. Why do you have problem? And that is exactly what the prof actually talk about. And that is corruption and why, because also we don't do the right thing. If government want to shift the landscape, then I think the first thing to do is to make sure that all the components of material and materials that go into construction also are made easy for stakeholders and developers to achieve. In terms of coming up with making the economy good so that people can buy material at cheaper prices. If, for example, now a bag of material, a bag of cement is 500 naira, I'm very sure that people will not compromise as much as they are compromising now. If you go to market and you want to access all other materials too, you can get it sealed, and then you are not going to put all your savings into it. I'm very sure there's a limit to how we are going to compromise. And by that, we'll be moving away from what we are doing now, the problem that we have created now, and then we'll now start treading softly and fast to a stronger and a more stable landscape. And that is my own opinion. And also the law that we have to, it should not be a revenue-based law. And then the target we give to our agents and our agents and officials to raise money for us should also be lower. It's only when we do that that we can shift landscape and then we start spending on the stable ground, not where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your observation and comments. Well, I think as we round up, let me respond because the penultimate question is really to every one of us. I think to NIOB and to COBON. I know the council and the institute is doing a lot of work with respect to making sure that the place and the role of builders are actually enshrined in several construction projects and with relevant NDAs and other stakeholders. Because assuming the representative of the governor is still around, I think he would have been the most appropriate person to respond to that penultimate question as to what the government is doing to ensure that on every project, builders actually play the role that is meant for builders. Because the other panelists here, I don't think it's their call. However, I want to align with Bidari over that all of us are advocates of doing the right thing. And we need to take it from there, that arising from this conference, we need to be challenged to be socially responsible, because it's very, very key. You know, if you look at the materials, even when the materials are not inferior, we need to understand that the way we handle materials can actually compromise the integrity of the material by handling. Because you can have the best of reinforcements, if the reinforcement don't add the required lap or the required lapping, it can fail at that point. Earlier in the year, I was on fellowship to JQuat, the Joko Koyata University, and I want to portray the fact that even countries that we feel are lesser than Nigeria are doing great things. So I was there to teach just 10 students, and when I got to the lab, to their construction lab, civil engineering lab, you need to see how much emphasis is placed on concrete placement. Even me, that happened to be a lecturer, I marveled, because to place concrete, you need to see the way they were emphasizing the fact that the students need to pay attention to the way concrete is placed, so that they can actually avoid issues that can arise from that placement. You know, that was when I came to realize, I don't know whether it's the way we teach here, that we just give so much volume at a time. They give a little at a time that will actually sink into the head of the students that are participating in that practical. Because that particular one, you know, in fact, since I came back, I've been watching even the so-called expatriates, when they do their work. Most of us don't follow the rule of segregation. Because the rule says that the point of pouring of the concrete to the platform which concrete is being placed must not exceed 1.5 meters. I challenge you today, when you get back to your site, find out, especially when they are using concrete pump, there is a particular corruption that's going on in Ikeja now. You need to see where the pump is to where they are pouring. It's about 3 meters. And that alone can compromise the integrity of that concrete to as much as 10%. So, when we talk about the shifting landscape, it is possible, and being sensitive to the fact that best practice has no alternative. And we need to aim and drive and be eager. You know the beauty of all of these things. There are several concepts that are intertwined with this shifting landscape. There is what we call lifelong learning. Even though we are professionals, we need to continue to learn. We need to relearn. People say you unlearn and relearn. In fact, that evening when I go back to the guest house, I started thinking, and I was telling my HOD that now, thank God, the strike is off. I said, some students will still come and report to you, because even things that you think that you know, when somebody, there's a writer that says that what they call the metal worker that is eating a metal at a particular point knows what he wants to get out of it. So, and that is how we need to begin to think about some of these things. In fact, as a matter of fact, I am proposing that even in the construction sector, we should begin to have what we call toolbox meeting. You know, we do it. I have a background in facilities management, although I am a builder. And every activity in the FN space, maybe because of the kind of organization where I train, you can't embark on an activity without having a talk about that activity. It's a crime. Because you have a schedule that you have to tick, that you have actually conducted a toolbox meeting, so that the people that are to do the work knows actually the right thing to be done. It's only in construction that we seem to just entrust everything to the person that is the artisans that are to do the work. You know, several on projects, people are challenging me. They will say, you professionals, you are just collecting money. Is it not these artisans that will do the work? Because they don't seem to see us engaging them to give instructions. So before we round up, is welcome.
Yes, I will give every one of us just 1 minute.
Do very well in it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next person, our chair.
Yeah, I think my parting shot would be that we need to get away from the past, and this is as a result of the climatic condition we are faced with. The success of any project solely 100% lies on the builder supervising that project. one thing that I thought we would talk about today is the huge insurance cost as a result of delay to a particular construction due to climatic condition, which is part of, the thing. But I don't want to take us back. I will just say to everybody, let's look inward. Let's ask ourselves, am I doing the right thing? The moment you start asking that question, I'm sure you have to do the right thing. Am I just taking my employer's money? Am I buying the right material? Have I seen any fault that I overlooked? Because through our actions, we can save a lot. Through our actions, we can reduce building collapse in Lagos. Through our actions, even the climatic condition we are talking about, the change in climate we are talking about, through our actions, we can still mitigate some of, the risk involved. So for me, I would just implore everybody to work together for the state and for yourselves, and of course, and do the right thing.
Thank you very much, sir. To me, a lot of research works have been done within the country by researchers in Nigeria promoting local content in construction materials. If these technologies can be embraced by the professionals, I think a lot of issues we are having as far as housing deficit is concerned will reduce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one. Martin Shaw.
Okay, for me, everything that has been said is boiled down to our attitude. So all stakeholders involved must get involved, and we should change and be socially responsible to live up to our responsibility. So it's important that we all come together and build up from these discussions that we had so that we can get a better result. Thank you.
Your parting shot, sir.
Thank you. My own partition is this. That is shifting the landscape. If you are shifting the landscape, then you must shift our attitude. You must have a change of attitude on how you do things. Now, as a professional, you ask yourself, am I a professional or am I a technician? If you are a professional, there are rules, principles and practice that guides your profession. As a professional, are you doing the right thing? Are you doing it according to the principle and practice of your profession? Are you not cutting corners? Are you placing mediocrity above professionals? Do you compromise standard? If you have been doing that, then you are not shifting the landscape. So you must ask yourself, my attitude, what effect does it have on the society or my co-worker? Because if you are a professional and you are supposed to use the right materials and you don't use it, and there's a building collapse, take for example, a co-worker might be in that building. What happens? Well, I'm talking about the economic waste, just like my GM said, the insurance, most of our huge amounts of money that people are wasting. The economic waste to the government, even and to the people, the family that are being affected. I think as a professional or as a body, one thing I want you to do is for us, maybe to assist government, what form of sanctions are you placing on those people? Is there any sanction? Because if Mr. A does something and nobody is sanctioning him, then Mr. B, if Mr. A is not being sanctioned, then I should be able to, I can also compromise standard. There was a day I was discussing with somebody, and that guy was telling me that in some other client, if you are an engineer and you sign up that a building or a contract work is certified for for habitation, even despite the fact that you are retired, if anything should happen to that building, they will still call you back to come and you will pay. You are the one that will pay. There's a liability on you because like you are signing a bond. Do you have such things in Nigeria? I think it's high time we should, if you want, now everyone will say government, but we as a body, what form of sanctions are in place? How do you check your members? How do you ensure that your members practice what they have been taught? Now we are all here, we are all listening to ourselves, we have said it, but when we get out there, we will not, okay, no, everybody will not believe us. My profession, now you need to ask a question. Are you into a trade or into a profession? If you are in a trade, then everybody does whatever he likes. When it is a profession, then you must follow the principle and practice of that profession. I think my own take home or my advice to you is that if you know you are a professional, do things the way you have been taught and ensure that you do not compromise standard. Doesn't matter. Money will come, but first of all, make the name. Make the name. Money will come, but not money first. You cannot, if you don't have a good will, people will never patronize you. So, my own part is that change your attitude, change your idea, and do things the right way. And know that whatever you do will affect your fellow human being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for him and every member of this panel. Talking about party and talking about attitude. My own party shot is this. Sometimes it pays to be an idiot. Yes, sometimes it pays to be an idiot. And that takes me to the story of a guy in a bank. He saw a bag full of money and he took the bag back to the bank manager. And people started calling him an idiot. Not knowing that this was a rich man that had no money. And after some time, the banker was employed as a secretary in the bank. From there, he rose to be a manager who controls the regional sections of the bank and was handing more than the money he could have stolen. Sometimes it pays to be an idiot, and that was a very good idiot. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all is well that ends well, and so it is at this note, on this note, that we want to say very big thank you to you. If you must be an idiot, be a very good idiot. Talking about shifting landscape, let's shift our attitude from what it used to be to what it should be, so that Nigeria can be a better place. The change must start from you and I. The change starts from me. On that note, let me invite Builder Sheson Phillips to come and give the vote. You have to come to the podium, though you are in the podium already, but come on top of the podium. Chairman Lagos State Chapter, where are you? Close that. Let me use my discretion. Professor Rahim, come. You are a very important personality. Come and join us to present. Yes. You want to present this? We'll present to Professor Rahim, please come. Yes, we are presenting that of Toby Lawal. Yes. Professor Rahim, join us, sir.
them come to the front.
Professor Rahim is a guru in creating alternatives to concrete components. Well, yes, okay. Yes. Okay. Let's have. Okay, got it. Okay. That's the Lasako man. Wonderful contribution. Okay. Now, oh yeah, problem I've asked you to come and walk. Oh yeah. Engineer Olufunso Edulade. Present this. No, that is the Lagos State Material Testing Lab. Thank you, my dear. We have a lot to discuss. Brother Sir Blessing Okomo. Okay, it's a night. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Next person. Dr. Charles Osadebe. All right. Good. My president, thank you very much. Prof. Thank you very much. Okay, no, let's have two photographs now. Everyone. Let's have the photograph here. Yes, yeah, ma'am. Yes, Rafi and the chairman, NLB Lagos State Chapter. Where's my chairman? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, we have leaves. Oh yeah, come and give both of hands.
On behalf of the executives and members of the Nigerian State Lagos State Chapter, I want to sincerely say a big thank you to you all, number one, for coming, and not just coming, you have taken time out to stay with us this time, and to also contribute immensely to our discussion today. I want to say a very big thank you, and we believe very strongly when we call upon you, when next we are going to be having our conference, by God's grace, next year, you will heed our call. And also to let you know that tomorrow, this conference continues at this same venue by 10 a.m. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. All is well, ahead is well. We are grateful for this. So, we are gathering here in the night, the chairman's night. We are coming, every one of us They are coming to boogie down. On that note, I want to once again welcome everyone to this program and to assure the participants, stakeholders that for us as traditional rulers, we will continue to collaborate with you. We will continue to support you to ensure we get to that promised land that we all envision.
We believe that next, after what to eat, it is where to live.
Like was earlier said, the real estate landscape is indeed transforming.
Investors can be assured that every viable investment put in Lagos State real estate sector would be guaranteed a return on investment.
As a government, it gives me joy to inform you that in the past 2 years, the government of Lagos State has acquired an enviable reputation in implementing efficient, effective and sustainable mass housing policy through the Lagos State Home Ownership Scheme, Lagos Homes.
It is hoped that this conference will truly uncover some of the challenges facing real estate industry in Nigeria and provide solutions to it for the benefit of all.